It took a grand vision to create the machine that would change the world, a vision which is glorified in this 1930s mural depicting Henry Ford's innovative mass assembly line technique. But producing the automobile is only half the story. In 1981, James Eustace Wolfington presented officials at Ford's Lincoln Mercury division with a different way to sell its vehicles. Wolfington's half-a-car trade cycle program, much like Ford's mass assembly line technique, was developed to streamline the retail side of the car business, making the process of acquiring a car more efficient.
We always talk on two sides of the river, the manufacturing side of the river and the retail side of the river. On the manufacturing side of the river, for years they said the lowest cost producer with the highest quality is going to win the game. And we went over to the retail side of the river, and we say whoever can give the customer more car, more often for less money, is going to win the game. We first met Ford in 1981. We made a presentation to Joe Cappy, and then Joe Cappy introduced us to Bob Ruhe and Gordon McKenzie, who was then the head of Lincoln Mercury division. So that's when it all started. And of course, our first test market was Tasca Lincoln Mercury.
Bob Tasca was one of the highest volume profit dealers at Lincoln Mercury, was also one of the finest in terms of product and marketing. He was a leader. We used him at Lincoln Mercury to determine all kinds of and judge different programs for the management. And we thought Bob Tasca would be the ideal guy to evaluate this half-car plan of Eustace Wolfington's.
The only reason that he and I met was a marketing manager at Ford Motor Company called me and said, I'm going to send a guy down to you that's either the greatest BSer in the world or a genius, one or the other. Well, after I listened for 2 or 3 hours, I had made up my mind that he was one or the other, and I tipped a little toward the genius side.
The first test market at Tasca Lincoln Mercury proved to be enormously successful. Just 4 years after the half-a-car pre-trade program was installed, Tasca became the #1 Lincoln Mercury dealer in the world.
One of the things we had said to Ford is that we could get the volume up to 25% or better in any dealership in the 2-year trading cycles. And that if we could do that, that we could renew in the neighborhood of 50% of the customers at the end of every 2 years. This was unique because at this time, the average trading cycle in the car business had moved out to somewhere around 55 to 60 months. And to bring the customer back into a 2-year trading cycle could have a dramatic impact on sales.
The second test market in Portland, Oregon also proved to be a tremendous success.
At that time, Lincoln Mercury had somewhere around 1% of the market in Portland, whereas in the rest of the country they had 5 or 6% of the market. So Portland was a very depressed market. And we went in there, there were 3 dealerships in Portland, and of course we had the same results. We not only had the same results percentage-wise, but we did a little more advertising of the concept with the public, and we doubled the business.
After Portland, the half-a-car trade cycle concept was tested in dealerships throughout California.
That Ford started to survey customers. The customers in San Diego, the customers in the mall, the customers up in Portland, Oregon. They surveyed the salespeople, and they found out that the customer satisfaction of customers on 2-year trading cycles was as high as any satisfaction in the industry. It was 1984 is when we completed the LA market, and we were now ready to go back to Tasca, where we had done the original first test, because now it was time to see what could happen with renewals. So we went to Tasca, and our renewals at Tasca went immediately to 60%. So all that evidence mounted to support our claims that customers loved the program, that we could renew the customers, and that by building a base of satisfied customers in the 2-year trading cycles, it was a great thing for the dealer, and therefore a great thing for the customer, and therefore a great thing for Ford Motor Company.
By 1985, the program was being introduced to dealers across the country in large markets such as Houston, Dallas, Baltimore, and Washington. Throughout the mid to late 1980s, many Lincoln Mercury dealers began experiencing similar successes with the plan in their stores.
My feeling regarding the plan is this is the first program that I've ever seen instituted by a manufacturer or a third party that benefits everybody. Traditionally, when you throw an incentive or you have some type of program, either the customer wins, or maybe the dealer wins, or maybe the manufacturer benefits. But with this program, the customer wins big time. The dealership benefits because he sees the customer more often. And thirdly, the manufacturer wins because in the long run, he's going to keep his customers loyal and he's going to sell more cars. It's fantastic.
We've more than quadrupled our customer base in less than 2 years.
We've planned over 260 vehicles in the last 6 months, and I can't tell you how happy the customers are. They are ecstatic about it. The salesmen are still excited about the program.
There is not a customer that I speak to that, from the very onset, that I do not mention the plan, because I can see how exciting it is to them.
It's a very intelligent, beneficial way for both the dealership and the customer to lease cars.
Everyone was financing for 60 months, 72 months, and anyone who was doing any kind of leasing was leasing for 48 months. No one dreamed that you could lease customers' cars on a 2-year basis. Now, what was happening in the car business that people were taking the point of sale and making it the point of no resale because they kept putting customers into longer terms. They sold cars on payments and extended terms and didn't realize that they were forcing customers to stay in the car for a longer period of time because they couldn't trade out of the car in a short period of time. If they tried to trade out early, they owed much more on the car than it was worth. And that made them, again, even more unhappy. So then they had to stay in the car, and then the repairs and maintenance started, and that just aggravated the whole situation. What we brought to the industry was a whole concept of let payment be a byproduct. Sell the customer on a lifetime concept of driving new more often.
By the early to mid-1990s, the media began to take notice of Ford's short-term leasing successes. Industry experts described this competitive edge.
What Half a Car did was it took something that was very complicated, put it into very simple, understandable language that the average consumer could understand. Once that happened, general consumers started to find that they could get involved in leasing, understood the terminology, or at least understood the process, understood what they were paying for, and wound up becoming extremely satisfied with getting into a short-term lease. Of the dealers who have high satisfaction numbers, the vast majority of them tend to be in the Ford camp. And of those dealerships that have the high satisfactions within the Ford camp tend to have Half a Car training.
Where are we now and where are we going? We've been with Ford for 15 years, and we're really at the beginning. Ford has bought into the concept of trading cycles, not just in the U.S., but in Canada, in England, all over Europe.
The program now has global reach and has proven to be successful around the world.
I mean, if you're the greatest car builder in the world, the greatest service in the world, and all of a sudden customers are driving cars for 6 and 7 years, and owner loyalty drops down to 30%, sure, you're going to do some business, but you're not going to be the best. You're not going to be the best. And I guess we think Ford can be the best. And that's on both sides of the river.
Most elements in our lives are determined by cycles. The motion of the planets, the interchange of seasons, even the way we purchase and replace our automobiles. Trade cycle technology fits perfectly with every customer's changing life cycle. Half a Car's trade cycle technology is designed to create a customer for life, a growing reservoir of loyal lifetime customers who return to the dealership again and again. The trade cycle process is divided into 3 parts: the new phase, the renewal phase, and the new to you phase. Each phase of the trade cycle is crucial to the success of the overall program, crucial in creating the lowest cost of driving and a customer for life, crucial in the development of the total transportation center.
Our overall philosophy is to help Ford and the dealers and the customer have a lifetime relationship together. And we realize the way to do that is we have to go into the dealership itself, and we have to build our processes in 3 stages. There's what we call the upfront process, and that's the way you sell a customer and treat a customer from the time they walk in the door. The second process is the renewal process. And of course, the third is the marketing of the used car. And when all these things are functioning, it becomes one big circle, and it just all begins to flow together, and it just starts to compound itself in growth.
Let's take a look at how the trade cycle process works. First is the new phase, which targets the new car market. It is designed to get the customer into the right car for the right reasons. Next comes the renewal phase, which gets the customer out of the first car and into the second and third cars with ease. Finally, the third phase, new to you, concentrates on the growing and lucrative used car segment. Each stage is designed to complement the others and to establish a program that will create a customer for life. And in doing so, will also create an ongoing stream of business, regardless of the economic climate.
We've got to look at the customer not only over their lifetime, but we have to look at the vehicle over its lifetime. So you basically have 3 parts here. New every 2, which is that new car customer having the opportunity to drive a new car every 2 years, which is exactly what they want to do. The second process we call renewal, which is to renew that customer into a new car every 2 years. And the third process, which is what we call new to you. And that's where we take the car that we just received back on renewal and put that into the used car category, or what we call relatively new, that 2-year-old car with 30,000 miles or less where history is no mystery, and we give the used car buyer the opportunity of a lifetime. And that is to drive a 2-year-old car with 30,000 miles or less that's factory backed with a warranty. This is an opportunity that heretofore the used car buyer never had. We couldn't have a new-to-you car without renewal, and we couldn't have renew until we had that customer in new every 2. So that's how the 3 of them relate and are tied together.
Because of Ford Motor Company's initiative and Half a Car's performance over the years, the concepts of the lowest cost of driving and short-term trading cycles are now becoming common reference points for automobile consumers around the world. Manufacturers have a more stable and predictable flow of product. Dealerships can predict sales several years out, and customers finally have real choices.
With the partnership of Half a Car and Ford, we really have a mission that we can sink our teeth into. Here's an opportunity that we have to make Ford #1 in the marketplace. And that's what we hope for. That's what we look for when we think of Ford 2000 and we think of the future. Hand in hand, Half a Car and Ford, putting the process in place, dealer by dealer, country by country, customer by customer, one customer at a time, to create that customer for life.
I think our success is probably to do with the fact that we have always we've never assumed that we know any better than what we've been trained to do. We've always tried to stick to exactly what the trainers and what Half a Car have trained us to do.
If you do what we're supposed to do, it works just great. And when we don't do what we're supposed to do, it doesn't work. There's no magic there. It's pretty simple.
Dealers, when questioned by other dealers, what makes them successful, will often say, and in most cases say, do what Half a Car tells you to do. I mean, if you asked 100 dealers successful why they were successful, they would all say, or 90 would say, do what Half a Car tells you to do. Now, the reason for that is that Half a Car knows how the customer thinks. We know how the dealers think, how the salespeople think. So we have been able to build presentations, design presentations, that build out all the questions that customers may have by building the answers in up front. And all of our training with the salespeople does the same thing. So in the training, we've not only come up with the presentations, but we come up with the process.
Our mission at Half a Car is to help a dealer create a total transportation center designed to fulfill a customer's every need. We've developed the technology of trading cycles, which integrates all processes within a dealership into one powerful synergistic force and makes the dealer's retail systems more responsive and efficient. The trade cycle process is most effective when a dealer makes the commitment to follow Half a Car's step-by-step process. Once a dealer makes a commitment to utilize this technology, the implementation of the process begins.
The first thing we do is to build a relationship within what we call a dealer meeting.
The main objective of the initial dealer meeting is to evaluate the dynamics of the store. Each component of the retail system is like a point of energy. All points must be properly placed and fully charged to ensure successful operation.
Many times we find that a dealer has no game plan. Many times we find that they have not really set clear and concise goals. So what we'll do is take that dealer by the hand, sit down, and write out a game plan.
Once the game plan is established, the installation process begins with 5 days of off-site training. The purpose of basic training is to master the fundamentals. What are the fundamentals? The thinking, the tools, the teamwork, and training necessary to properly implement the trade cycle process into a dealer's existing selling process. Once the basic foundation is established, the lessons are reinforced by 2 days of intensive hands-on training in the dealership.
Part of the intense training is when we do that 2-day installation, we'll do whatever it takes. No matter what time we start in the morning, we'll be there till after the doors close at night until we're confident and they're confident that they understand and know how to use the process.
90 days after the initial installation, a Half a Car catalyst returns to the dealership to begin the continuous improvement phase.
We come back to the dealership anywhere from 30 to 60 days to get them back on track, because we know, like any process, it's just like coaching a team, that once you start, you get better and better, but then you have a tendency to fall back to old habits.
Continuous improvement is a lifetime commitment to all 3 phases of the trade cycle process. The red carpet lease for new customers, the renewal department for returning lease customers, and the new to you department for the 2-year-old eligible red carpet lease units. As part of our continuous improvement process, we evaluate a dealer's profitability in all departments. Half a Car will make sure the trade cycle foundation is in place and build upon it by fine-tuning all areas of the retail process. Once all the elements of the retail process are in place, a Half a Car catalyst will work with the management and sales teams to make sure they are achieving their desired objectives.
Explain to me how the plan works, how the red carpet lease plan works, okay?
Okay.
So give it a try.
Okay. How you doing, Miss Kalo? Thank you for coming in. When Darling...
The renewal process is a pivotal point in the overall trade cycle process, because this is when a customer decides to get into another new car or keep his or her current vehicle. Studies show that the longer a customer keeps a car, the more dissatisfied he or she is with the vehicle, and as a result, becomes increasingly unhappy with the manufacturer.
Customers have been in a 4 or 5 year buying orbit or trading cycle. And what we've been able to do is put the customer into a 2-year trading orbit.
The goal is to keep customers in 2-year orbits, but for most people, this takes some adjustment. For this reason, the first renewal cycle is the most difficult one. We prepare dealers to handle customers' questions and objections at renewal time.
Customers at the end of the first orbit have a tendency the first time to say, gee, I think I'll slide back into that 4-year-old orbit. They don't really remember why they took the 2-year program in the first place. They know they liked it, and they know they still love the car, it hasn't caused them any problems. So if they just went into a dealership that wasn't properly trained, they might say, gee, I think I'll keep the car, and the dealer would say, gee, that's a good idea. But with our renewal training, we're able to train a dealer to prepare for a customer coming back, to know that a customer may be thinking of keeping the car, and that if he prepares a certain way and does the kind of selling job that he's capable of doing, with a properly planned renewal process, he'll have a high percentage of those customers will take another car and go into another 2-year orbit. And once they're in a 2-year orbit, they never come out.
Preparation is key to the success of the renewal process. We have developed 12 steps to ensure the success of each renewal from start to finish. The first 5 steps ensure that all of the documentation is in place before a customer comes in to renew his or her vehicle. Steps 6 through 8 are designed to help the renewal specialist make an effective sales presentation. The final steps, 9 through 12, are designed to sell another new vehicle in the most efficient manner.
Our goal is 100% of the customers are on 2-year training cycles, and that Ford's market share goes from 22 to, or 26 to 36 to 40. I mean, now, that goal is achievable, but it's only achievable by building a bank of customers and selling the same customer 5 cars in 10 years instead of selling the same customer 2 cars in 10 years.
The new-to-you process is the third and final phase of the trade cycle process. It focuses on the marketing of the 2-year-old car returning to the dealership, and in so doing, brings the process full circle.
A good analogy is, where was leasing 15 years ago in the new car department? Well, that's where leasing is today in the used car department. It's brand new. So there's a lot of attitudes and feelings both on customers' parts as well as the people selling, the salespeople parts, about leasing. So we have to go in and really explain what the concept is. So that's the first part. Secondly, we have to teach them how to sell it just like we did 15 years ago. But more importantly, we have to put a process in place. For example, what are the cars they have coming off? What is the value of these cars? How are they different from any other kind of a car? Let's develop a story about the car. Secondly, we have to pick a place where these cars are going to be. Are they going to be mixed in with all the other used cars, or are they going to be in a separate, special place? Thirdly, who is going to be in charge? What manager is going to be in charge of making sure that all these cars coming off leasing are properly prepared and that every customer that comes in looking for a 2-year-old car gets the right kind of presentation?
The new-to-you training process can be best summarized in the following 9 steps. Organize and train the sales team. Identify the eligible vehicles. Pre-calculate inventory. Create the display area. Follow the new-to-you buying process. Introduce and utilize the locator department. Present the comparison example. Present the write-back sheet. Create and benefit from the duplicate file system. Dealers that are most committed to the trade cycle process seek advanced training from the Half a Car College. The 5-day courses include Managing the Renewal Process, Advanced Renewal, Managing the New-to-You Process, and Coaching 2000.
Our main objective in the college is to get results, and we know the only way we can get results is to have professionalism.
The training that we've received is a major contributor to our increased penetration on renewals.
Since I got back from the Half a Car College, my renewals have seemed to have gotten a lot more consistent, and I've seen my percentages go up actually quite dramatically.
And after sending my 2 people, the first probably 2 weeks that they were back, they did 9 out of 10 deals, which they never would have done before.
It's just been far superior than any kind of training I've ever been to.
Trade cycle technology creates the force that will enable dealers to substantially improve their retail processes. In doing so, dealers can more efficiently serve their customers and thus begin the road toward building a growing bank of loyal, lifetime customers.
It is a clean, effective, value-oriented way of doing business. It's in the best interest of the customer to do it, which feels good, and you know it's right, and it's in the best interest financially for the dealership. The customers like it. They see it as a better way to pay for a vehicle. They don't see the long-term obligations that they once had.
I like to use a car that's brand new. I don't like to buy tires and brakes and shocks and all that stuff. I don't like to have my car in a service shop every other week. I like to enjoy it.
I have 2 children. I want to have something that's reliable. I can get in, and I don't have to worry about if it's going to break down.
If your plans change or your outlook down the road changes, you got 2 years. You can change things over real quick. You don't have to hold a vehicle for 5 years.
Thank you for coming
We've gone through some of the worst economic times. We've had our best years here because we've had renewals.
Our QCP is higher now than it's ever been. The plan in general and new to you now has a lot to do with that.
I have something that was bought here originally, driven here. It was a family-owned vehicle, something that was maintained here, fixed here. We know all the records on it.
It's like having a used car factory.
One of the advantages of being on the plan is this constant inventory of great quality used cars. The people at Ford Canada have often heard me talk about this being the house the plan built. We just broke the $20 million mark in September of 1995 and fully anticipate we'll be up to $25 million at the end of 96 and $30 million at the end of 1997. If we're renewing 80% of that, that's a lot of built-in gross when we open the door on January 2nd every year.
In 1992, we decided that this was going to be the way we were going to go to market. We had thousands upon thousands of phone calls in a very short space of time. That allowed us to go to dealers and say, hey, look, you don't be on this program, you're going to miss out on these customers.
We've some 2,500 customers now who are part of the Corner family, and that's what it is. You're part of the Corner family on an options trade cycle.
It's the best thing I've ever done.
Elke 2 jaar nieuwe. Ja, maar hoe? Options.
It makes you recession-proof. You will sell more cars. And I think the most important thing of all is that it will increase the customer loyalty.
I think the dealers who are really successful in trade cycle management are those dealers who are personally committed to it, who believe in the process, who believe in the benefits to the customers, the dealership and the company, and who continue to drive the process.
Ford presenta una nuova, straordinaria esperienza di guida.
Il titolare che ha grande successo con Idea Ford è molto semplice.
The owner who has great success with Idea Ford applies the process.
Propone Idea Ford a tutti.
He pitches Idea Ford to everyone.
Il processo dello schema di comparazione.
He applies the comparison example process and perfectly manages the phase which begins at the moment of sale and continues through the renewal process after 2 years. The idea of knowing that in the 21st century I'll be able to sell 50, 60, or 70% of the cars that I sold a year ago with Idea Ford, and that this can be guaranteed to me as a number of sales, is a very calming idea. Multi-option is giving other opportunities which perhaps were unthinkable in our country's culture.
Would you like a new car every 2 years?
它是福特红地毯弹性购车计划。
This plan only works with half-a-car training.
The major secret to the success is sticking to the half-a-car way.
My advice to any dealer who isn't already in it is to look at it real closely, talk with the half-a-car people, internalize it, understand it, and then get truly excited about it and go out and do it. It's doable, and it gives you a great leg up in the competition.